You're listening to Soundside on KUOW. I'm Libby Dankman, and we're covering Washington's most competitive races ahead of the August 4th primary election. Historically, one of the tightest in the state is the 3rd Congressional District. That's in the southwest corner of Washington, including Cowlitz, Skamania, Clark, Lewis, Pacific, Wahkiakum, and a small part of Thurston County. It's one of the few swing districts left in the country. Voters there have gone for President Trump every time he's been on the ballot, but they have also repeatedly chosen a Democrat to represent the district in the House over a Republican. Earlier this week, we heard from that Democratic representative, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez. She holds the seat and is running for re-election. And now we're going to hear from a challenger that is campaigning to her left as a progressive alternative. Brent Hennrich is running to represent Washington's 3rd Congressional District. Brent, thank you very much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what do you see as the biggest challenges facing Southwest Washington, the 3rd District, and what would you do if you're elected to fix them?
Well, we've got a lot of challenges, and there's challenges across the country as well that have to be thought of. But I mean, right now it's people's everyday issues. It's healthcare has become like the number 2 item to a cost item to a family these days, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be directly after shelter. We have to be taking steps at the federal level to get to universal health care. We have to do what we can in the meantime to reintroduce subsidies so that people can afford health care. Because right now, there's far too many families that are rolling the dice and saying, no, we're not going to do health care this year. We got to be able to pay for, their vehicle or groceries or something else. And it's not okay. And we know that it has devastating effects on the overall cost of healthcare, because people that don't have it then can't afford to pay the emergency room visits that they end up using when they get sick. It also messes up the emergency rooms from the standpoint of when people need to get into an emergency room, there's huge waits because there's all these people that are having to use it as a primary care facility. So definitely, we're looking at addressing healthcare. We want to make sure that the federal government's investing in education versus what my entire lifetime has been is another place that they can cut. I've never heard ever where it's like, oh no, we're going to make historic investments. It's always, oh yeah, well, they cut another this much from the federal budget, and they changed the requirements and cut one day of schooling, and those cuts have added up. They're significant. So we need to make investments in education, early childhood education, including all-day child care, so people can work one job and be able to raise their family, but have some place for their children to go during the day, pick them up, and then enjoy family time in the evening. And we have to continue the big infrastructure projects that really were getting started under the Biden administration. Those are where we're going to create the jobs. We need big projects. We've got the I-5 bridge down here in Southwest Washington that is every bit of a definition of a federal project in the fact of it's connecting 2 states over a body of water on the connection from Canada to Mexico. So I want to make sure that we're continuing to get the funding for projects like that that are going to create good union jobs for here in the district.
So I said you're positioning yourself as a progressive, but what does that mean to you? Like, we're seeing this wave of people on the left kind of challenging Democratic incumbents, and many of them are Democratic socialists. Do you consider yourself a Democratic socialist, or what does progressive mean to you?
No, I consider myself a true Democrat that believes progressive policy is the way forward. And I mean that in the fact of we need to get to universal health care. That is one of the highlights of progressive policy, but it's one of the things that is going to lift the burden in this country We have a private for-profit healthcare system that has found its way to squeeze every dollar out of you on the front side and the back side and do everything they possibly can to not provide the care that you think that you're paying for. So it is absolutely vital to me that we are getting those people out of this and getting health care to be you go to your doctor, what your doctor prescribes is what you get for your, for your treatment, and you go about your life.
So I want to ask about the elephant in the room, and maybe I should say like the donkey in the room. And that is why you chose to challenge the incumbent. I know you ran against Marie Gluesenkamp Perez once before in 2022, before you conceded and endorsed her in the race, and now you're back. I think her case that she's made to me and to others is that she is able to hold a district that is one of the very, very rare, truly purple districts in the country. She's been able to win a seat that Trump wins against Republican opponents multiple times. I guess my question for you is why challenge her on the left? And if you do get through the primary, why would voters choose you ultimately in the general in a very, in a district that has gone for Trump?
Well, I think it's really straightforward, and I think both of them roll into one. Everyone thought they were electing a Democrat. No one thought that they were electing somebody that was going to go back east and vote like a Republican. No one voted for Marie going, this is the person that's going to give Trump a Gestapo. No one voted for Marie saying, this is the person that's going to possibly take away married women's access to the ballot without paying a poll tax. No one voted for Marie for these policies that she is using and saying, oh, I have to vote this way because there's so many red voters in this district. There are a lot of red voters. We are a true purple district, but this district voted twice for a Democrat. This district did not vote for independent voice that is going to vote with Republicans more often than not. So we know that we can win this district, and we're running to represent what the people thought they were voting for the last two cycles.
I want to take up the vote for the Gestapo is what you just said. So she has voted for DHS funding in the past, although Gluesenkamp Perez has said, the big $75 billion for ICE that was in the big, beautiful bill, she voted against. And her argument was that the vote for the DHS, to end the DHS shutdown, was really about trying to get the reforms negotiated as part of that vote. So she said that this was like a vote for body cameras, basically. What do you make of that? Yeah, and maybe you can lump in kind of also how you feel about the way you would approach immigration and DHS funding.
There's no body camera footage from the shooting in Maine. Where is her victory lap of, I got this control on it? She's got nothing. She's rolled over 4 times to give ICE bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger budgets. The only vote she can hang her hat on in the Democrat category of any consequence is she did not vote for the big, beautiful bill, but she's voted for everything else surrounding it. So she's voted for the NDAAs. She's voted, she's just consistent.
That's the Defense Authorization Act for folks
Yes.
who don't know the acronym, the military funding bill. Yeah.
That have had devastating effects on people, on women's reproductive access, on gender affirming care, for family members of those in the military, that they're just restricting things left and right. She's voting for these things to enable the Republicans. And then she complains that things that she wants to do aren't getting a vote. She's not doing the bare minimum of being in Congress, which is, if you're going to take these terrible votes, at least trade them. At least get it from the other side that you'll get a vote on something you want. But no, she votes with the Democrats to say a bill is no good. And then 5 minutes later, literally as short as that at times, is voting to say, okay, well, let's pass the bill. So, she votes to be able to say that she's, quote, bipartisan, but when the rubber meets the road, her voting record on bill passage is very, very conservative.
Let me ask you about something that's splitting Washington's Democratic delegation to Congress right now, and that is military aid to Israel. There was a vote recently on something called the Massey Amendment, which would have stripped out humanitarian and military aid. In Washington, just 3 Democrats voted for it, so that meant that they were voting to defund military and humanitarian aid to Israel. Marie Gluesenkamp Perez voted against the Massey Amendment, and so in favor of aid to Israel. She has accepted AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, money in the past. How would you approach the issue of specifically military funding to Israel, and how do you think about how it has really split the party right now?
It's definitely taken its toll on the party, and it's definitely a talking point. I have come out and said I will not take 1 cent from AIPAC. I don't want to have to listen to or feel obliged to vote in any certain way that group wants that is against the way that the citizens here want. And speaking with constituents, they don't want it. I believe that Israel has every right to exist and every right to defend itself, but that doesn't mean that you get to go in and create a genocide and blow Gaza off the map and call that defense. And I don't believe that the United States government should be funding any of that. So where we are currently, I would vote to halt transfer to Israel. But if Israel's government changes over and the IDF starts acting in a humane way, I would fully support continuing to send defensive weapons. I understand where they are and that they need the Iron Dome to keep them protected. And I would want to keep that going, but they would have to cease their offensive operations that right now include, getting us to attack Iran, them attacking Gaza and Lebanon. Right now they are starting the wars and running around saying they're the victim and need protecting. Stop kicking the hornet's nest.
The other candidate who's making gains in this race is John Braun. He is an established Republican lawmaker here in Washington. He's been in the Senate for a long time, the minority leader in the Senate since 2020. He has President Trump's endorsement. Again, if you were able to defeat Marie Gluesenkamp Perez in the primary, and I just say that because, you're both on the left side of the spectrum in this race, it would likely be a matchup between whatever Democrat wins and then the Republican John Braun. How would you go about beating him in the general in a Trump district?
The same way I'm going right now. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about quality education. We're talking about investments in infrastructure. We're talking about making sure that we're going to tax the rich and that make them pay their fair share, corporations as well, lifting that tax burden off of the working class and making sure at the end of the day, we are going to hold Trump administration accountable. People want the Epstein files released. People want to know what's going on. And we have to hold the Trump administration accountable and stop this craziness so that we have a chance at getting another president in 2 years. And beyond that, being able to have a functioning government again. We are in a critical time right now. And we have people in office and running for office that want to enable fascism, and I will not stand for it.
Brent Hennrich, candidate for the 3rd District in Southwest Washington for the House. And that district includes Cowlitz, Skamania, Pacific, Wahkiakum, Clark, and Lewis counties, plus a small part of Thurston County. He is, again, positioning himself as the progressive alternative to Marie Gluesenkamp Perez, the incumbent Democrat there. Brent, thank you so much. It's been really good to get to talk with you and learn more about your positions.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Denkman. You can hear my interview with Representative Gluesenkamp Perez over on the Soundside podcast feed that aired yesterday, and she talked more about some of those votes that she took where she crossed the aisle. By the way, we also invited the other frontrunner in this race on for an interview, Republican John Braun. He currently serves as the state Senate minority leader. He got an endorsement from President Trump for his race to represent the 3rd District in the House. And we had an interview scheduled with him on Monday, but we got an email yesterday morning from his campaign saying that he was unable to conduct the interview. We asked for alternative windows, and his team said they are unable to reschedule at this time. So, Senator Braun, give us a call. The invite is still open, hoping to hear from you soon. Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime right here online at KUOW.org, or, of course, on your favorite podcast app.